This is NC Spin, an unrehearsed discussion on issues of interest to North Carolinians. Now, here is your moderator, Tom Campbell.
Welcome. You've heard and read the spin the media and the politicians have put on the issues of the day. To get the correct spin on what's going on in North Carolina, let's introduce you to our panel of experts. They include former House Speaker Joe Mavretic, Chris Fitzsimon from NC Policy Watch, John Hood from the John Locke Foundation, and Peg O'Connell, political analyst and lobbyist. This is going to be a good show. We're going to be talking about the growing movement to repeal Obamacare, discuss whether it's time to have a real debate about capital punishment, examine the reforms taking place at the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and as usual, we're going to close the show by asking our panelists to tell us something we don't know. Should be interesting. Let's get started. In less than 30 days, a key provision of the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, will go into effect. Beginning October 1st, our state and all states are to begin offering health insurance exchanges, more options and supposedly lower prices for individuals and families to purchase health insurance. Chris, recently, Congressman Robert Pittenger was home for the summer break on a town hall meeting. A Tea Partier stood up and asked him to answer yes or no if he would vote to defund Obamacare. Pittenger answered no and later responded that the issue was complicated. How big is this repeal Obamacare movement in North Carolina, and is it gaining steam?
Well, it's interesting because it really seems to have been to divide Republicans in Congress and around the country. And it's not just to defund Obamacare, it's to either shut down the government unless Obamacare is defunded, or not authorize another extension of the debt ceiling, which the last time we did that, the stock market plummeted and the economy tanked and a lot of people suffered. So this isn't about not liking Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. It's about inflicting damage on the country and the economy and the federal people who rely on the federal government for benefits to overturn a law that was passed by Congress, signed by a president who, by the way, was comfortably reelected despite that being his signature achievement. So this is right now, this is a big battle within the Republican Party. And I think one final thing: it's fine to oppose this. It's fine to want to repeal it. If people really want to appeal it, they should elect majorities in the Congress and repeal this instead of holding us all hostage.
Joe, Republicans held the country hostage 94, 95, and you remember we came up to the brink then and got into that same situation. The North Carolina congressional delegation, particularly the Republicans and Senator Burr, say they're opposed to Obamacare, but they will not vote, as the Tea Partiers want, to stop the budgets in Congress or to refuse to continue budgets in Congress. How big an issue is this within the Republican Party, as Chris was talking about?
Well, I think it's a significant issue, but I think when we get to crisis, we'll see movement that keeps Obamacare going along. But I don't think we're going to have, close to universal coverage within the next 5 years at best.
John, I wrote a column a week or so ago, and I said, okay, you want to repeal Obamacare, that's fine. What's your plan? Because doing nothing is not going to be a good plan. Have you heard anybody that's got another plan? If so, what is it?
Of course. I mean,
well, what is it? We haven't heard
there are a
it.
number of plans that have been enacted, have been pushed in the House, pushed in Congress multiple times. There's a bill by Tom Price, a universal plan that does all sorts of things. It's very different from the Affordable Care Act. So that's a red herring. This is a tactical dispute. I think that the folks who say that defunding is the wrong strategy are probably going to be proven correct, and they're a majority of the Republicans. Anyway, what they're actually offering is, I think, a much smarter tactic, which is to say, look, they delayed the employer mandate for a year at least because it's unworkable and unenforceable. They should delay the rest of the mandates for at least a year because it's only fair for individuals to get out from under a mandate if businesses get out.
Can they get a compromise?
I think that is a more effective argument. I think there are actually some Democrats who are nervous right now about how badly prepared most of the state exchanges are to actually operate. They're not even going to be asking to prove any of the income requirements to get the subsidies because they don't have any way to check it. So I think there's actually a better way to do this. I think that's where most of those Republicans will be going.
Peg, one factor that we are seeing in North Carolina is that a lot of employers are cutting back their employees' hours, making them part-time or getting them under the limit that they have to have in their health insurance plan so they don't have to offer health insurance coverage. Currently, health insurance coverage for a family of 4 is $16,000 a year. If this trend continues and employers get out of providing health insurance benefits for the employees, what's going to happen?
Well, I mean, that's what the Affordable Care Act is all about, to make...
Supposedly.
To make these, make health insurance available at an affordable level to families and to individuals who can't get it through their employers. We hear rumors that employers are cutting back on, they're avoiding the labor laws in order to keep from giving people health insurance. I want to see somebody prove this.
Trust me, it's happening.
Well, hopefully you're not doing it, Tom.
No, I'm not, but trust me, it's happening.
But, we've also seen, just in the last year, so last year, health insurance premiums went up 10%. This year, it's 5%, which is still a lot. But the cost curve is starting to bend, and I think that's the effect that even
the only reason they went up
effect.
5% this year is because they delayed the employer health insurance situation.
No, I don't think that's not the case at all.
But the problem is going to be next year. Remember,
that's what I'm saying.
Next year is when the most of the provisions
go into effect.
Clearly, premiums in the individual market will go way up.
Well, they're not going way up in states that are already doing it. They're not going up dramatically. They're going up less than expected in Connecticut, and Montana, and California.
Less than expected means what?
Means that it's going up.
Dramatic increases, but not double.
No, it means that they're not going up as much as people like you have predicted, and they're not going up as fast as people around the country.
I didn't make a prediction about Connecticut.
Well, okay. You made a prediction that healthcare premiums are going to skyrocket.
In North Carolina, they will.
Well,
they absolutely will.
They're going up now
I lived
without
through the Clinton days,
Obamacare.
and I worked in health insurance. And as soon as the Clintons they started seriously considering some kind of health care reform, premium increases flattened out. So part of this is somebody's trying to do something about it, and that makes premiums go flat.
All right, Joe, final word.
Well, when you try to do something nationally, top down, there are hundreds of thousands of people smart enough to figure a loophole. And that's what we're going to start seeing. Big time.
There's already elaborate loopholes that companies will be using to evade the mandates.
All right. You can watch NC Spin anytime you want. Just go to our website, ncspin.com, and click on the YouTube button on the right side of the page. We post each week's show on Friday, so you can view us anytime you like. And while at ncspin.com, easy for me to say, ncspin.com, be sure to sign up for our weekly email newsletter, Spin Cycle. And you can follow us on Twitter at NCSpin Tweets. 4 ways to keep the conversation going: ncspin.com, NCSpin on Facebook, and at NCSpin Tweets on Twitter. We look forward to hearing from you.
NC Spin will return after these messages.
People always ask us, don't you get tired of driving to the coast every day? We have never said yes. We enjoy bringing the fresh fish to those that don't have time to drive to the coast. The relationships that we have with fishermen in eastern North Carolina are more than business to us. It's more like family. They depend on us and we depend on them. We are proud to work with North Carolina fishermen to bring fresh fish from our dock to your table.
The best part about being a member of a Touchstone Energy Cooperative is that it's your Touchstone Energy Cooperative. Learn more about the power of your co-op membership at togetherwesave.com.
North Carolina's Touchstone Energy Cooperatives, looking out for you.
Do you have questions about the foods you eat and the farmers that feed us? If so, register to attend the Food Dialogues North Carolina. This free panel discussion will include food and farming experts talking about what's on our plates, the importance of consumer choice, and how farming and food production have changed over the years. The Food Dialogues North Carolina is September 19th at the Raleigh Convention Center. Registration is free, but space is limited. Visit fooddialogues.com to register now.
We now return to NC Spin.
By his own admission, Diener Secretary John Scavarla says his department has been turned upside down. Scavarla has been tasked with reforming the department, subsequently environmental regulations for 4,000 employees. He pledges to streamline the agency and protect the environment, but also to help the economy grow by processing applications faster and recognizing that business isn't the enemy, as some environmentalists would have us believe. John, Secretary Scavarla made his remarks at a John Locke luncheon recently, said he was overseeing 15 reorganizations within his department at one time. Is he biting off more than he can chew here? And more to the point, is it possible to make so many changes in a department at one time and do it well?
Well, it is difficult. I'm sure it's challenging for him. He does have a lot of experience in management and as an entrepreneur and in a law firm, but it is difficult. However, I'm not sure it's escapable because the department, because of legislation, because of budget reductions, because of new changes to the way the regulatory process is going to work, the departments and all the divisions have to be changed. There were a number of people there at the meeting who work at the various Diener departments, and it's a mixture of sentiments, Tom. Some of them are very nervous about the changes, but many of them who've been there a long time also are excited that someone is listening to them about changing the way the divisions are structured. So we'll have to see, but this is really not the problem area of the McCrory administration.
No, I got. Well, it is and it isn't.
Tom, what I see, and I've been involved in this for some time, is what he's trying to do is to build a new watch, and all the new pieces have to work together for the watch to work. So he doesn't really have a choice. He's got to make the major moves.
So he's got to disassemble the whole watch.
He's got to disassemble it, and he's got to reconfigure it, and it's all got to work together smoothly, and I think he can do it. He's a very good appointee.
Well, okay, so maybe a good time to stop and go around the table. Let's ask everybody to give Diener, as it now stands, a letter grade from A to F as to how effective they are for the environment and for the state of North Carolina and for the citizens. John, start with you.
Well, until now, I'd give it about a D. It's been a significant problem with business recruitment and economic growth in the state, but I think it's being reformed.
Joe?
I think it has a lot of what I call frictional interfaces where two divisions don't work together, and I think that's what he's going after.
So what's your grade?
I think right now he gets a C. He can do better.
John? Chris?
I would have given it a B before now. I disagree that it has been a major impediment for business recruitment. I think it's an incomplete now because there's so many. This department was gutted with budget cuts. It wasn't just trimmed. It had the massive budget cuts. Now we have a regulatory reform bill which completely changes the way every single rule is promulgated in North Carolina. A lot of them will expire unless they're updated, which is that's way too much for a department that doesn't have the staffing. And the third quick point is that we have I appreciate his rhetoric about being a customer-friendly, customer service, but he's only talking about, when he usually says that, helping businesses get permits. I'm also a customer because I want clean air and water.
What's your grade?
You know, I would agree with Chris. I would give them a B. Now I think the jury is still out, and I think I'm worried that there's somebody high level in the administration that has a target on Diener.
Joe, one of the things that Secretary Scavarla said when he was at this John Locke luncheon was that the environmentalists would have us living in lean-tos and wearing loincloths. Based on his remarks, he's saying business isn't the enemy, but the environmentalists are. How big an impediment are the environmentalists?
Yeah, I think that what the environmentalists do is to continue to hold your feet to the fire, and that's what they should continue to do.
Tom, just to be clear, that was a joke. The next sentence was, of course,
well,
that's
I thought
not
it was
really,
pretty funny.
Well, but I mean, he said that's not really what environmentalists think. They have good intentions, and we're trying to reconcile their intentions with the needs of it. But
it's interesting. He would never say businesses want to pollute every river and stream to make as much money as they can. That would have been really funny, too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked about on the show before, and Governor McCrory, before he signed HB 74 into law, said he was concerned about was this new regulation regarding trash trucks and the fact that they could be leaking.
They have to be leak resistant instead of leak proof.
Right.
It lowers the standard.
Now
It's like when you dive in a watch like this.
He passed Executive Order number 22 to try to allow local law enforcement officials to cite trucks that were leaky. Is that going to solve the problem?
I don't think it will. I mean, I don't understand the basis of this. I think we all deserve garbage trucks that are leak proof, not leak resistant.
Peg, how about the part of this that allowed billboard operators to clear cut? Again, Governor McCrory was concerned about it, signed Executive Order number 23 to put some limitations on him. Did he fix it?
You know, the statute always will govern, and to send a message that billboards are more important than trees across the state, and, you know, and billboards generally do not enhance our quality of life.
All right, after these messages, we're going to talk about capital debate on capital punishment.
NC Spin will return after these messages.
How bad do you want to become a champion? More than you want to breathe?
We see our student athletes and coaches' commitment to championships every day.
Your support enables us to create a competitive advantage that will help the Wolfpack compete for conference and national championships.
Our work at NC State is just beginning. We are asking more from ourselves, our players, and now we are asking more from you. What is your championship commitment?
It's true. Farming is different than it was 50 years ago. We know consumers have questions about how our food is grown today. North Carolina livestock farmers want you to know that they're using the most responsible and caring farming practices to feed our state.
ncanimalag.com.
The North Carolina Medical Society is committed to a healthier North Carolina. We feel as an organization representing over 14,000 physicians that we have a responsibility and an obligation to help our citizens become more healthy. And by doing this, we want to help educate them about ways in which they need to keep themselves healthy through good nutrition, exercise, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. These ingredients will help not only individual citizens become and maintain a healthier outlook on their lives, but also help contribute to having a healthier state.
We now return to NC Spin.
The Greenville Daily Reflector had an interesting editorial recently saying that now the Racial Justice Act has been repealed, and since we haven't executed anyone in 7 years, it would probably be a good time to have a genuine debate about whether or not to continue capital punishment in our state. Peg the Reflector editorial said both Democrats and Republicans have gotten involved in half measures that don't really confront the larger concerns about death sentences and the process by which they're handed down. Do you agree it's time to take this issue to center stage and have some honest and civil debate?
Well, I think having honest and civil debate on any issue would be a good thing right about now. And I think especially since this is literally life and death, this is something that we need to talk about. You know, two of the basic tenets of criminal justice are, and punishment is, one, to deter crime, and two, to punish. And I don't think capital punishment in this state at this time is doing a lot of deterring. We still have a tremendous number of capital offenses.
Well, that was my next question. John, do you think it's a deterrent? I mean, we said for years that the reason for putting people to death is because it would be a deterrent.
Well, the murder rate's down. The murder rate is not, I mean, murder is a rare occurrence. So you get into a lot of trouble trying to explain something like murder, which is a rare occurrence statistically. I will tell you that there's obviously one kind of murder that capital punishment does deter, and it has to do with felony murder. If you have somebody who's convicted, who has raped someone or otherwise done some kind of serious felony, they might think, if there's no capital punishment, well, you know, I should kill this victim because it significantly reduces the chance I will ever be caught. Now, that's not a very large number of murders, but it is an area where there is pretty good evidence for. But my view is that it's not even about deterrence. For me, there are some crimes, you know, serial killers and cop killers and felony murderers, you know, people doing gruesome things, for which the only just punishment is death. Even if it doesn't deter, I'm still in favor of it.
Joe, if it was put to a vote of the people of North Carolina, how would they vote? End capital punishment, continue capital punishment, keep people in prison for life, what?
Well, that's the question. And I think the question ought to be put to the general public in a referendum that says amend the Constitution, not take the pulse, but amend the Constitution to require the death penalty and to put a timeline on when people sentenced to death are going to be put to death. Put it out there for the people and let them decide what they want in their Constitution.
Would that argument be skewed one way or the other, Chris, if people understood that it costs less to have a prisoner on death row and execute a prisoner than it does to keep them in jail for the rest of their life?
You mean it costs more?
It costs more.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's one factor, but I don't think cost is the issue here. I actually think if you look at polls, if you ask people, do you support the death penalty, a significant majority says yes. If you say, do you support execution for first-degree murder or life in prison without the possibility of parole, which is the law in North Carolina, It's much closer, and in many places around the country, people oppose it, and that question is never asked. I think a good debate about a good civil debate about capital punishment is long overdue in North Carolina because there's so much misinformation about it. I'm very alarmed a little at Joe's limitation on appeals. Even put that up there. We've had many cases with people with terrible lawyers who are drunk, and we don't even find out about it for a week before they're executed. They would have long been killed improperly. There's a lot of problems with the court system.
As a lawyer, that scares the hell out of me.
Okay, good. And I want to respond to that. When you have 10 million people, you cannot have a perfect anything. I don't care what it is, it cannot be perfect.
But we have a presumption of it.
Wait a minute, it cannot be perfect. So you have to accept the fact that
people are going to die?
That someone probably will be executed wrongly.
And you're willing to live with that?
Yes, I am.
I am not. I absolutely am not.
I got that. And that's why we should have the debate. And that's why we should ask the people of North Carolina to decide their social contract, whether or not they want to do this or not.
All right, Peg, your position on this.
I am opposed to the death penalty because it is absolutely irrevocable.
Can't take it back.
You can't take it back.
Fair
and we've
point.
seen
Fair point.
that we make mistakes.
All right. So do you think anytime soon we're going to have this debate, John?
Well, I think people have this debate all the time about capital punishment.
Well, I mean, have the debate so that something will happen.
That's exactly the point. When people say, let's have a serious debate, what they mean is, let's finally repeal the death penalty. That's what they mean by that.
Do what you say.
We've already had a debate. People don't want to repeal it.
You don't think the people do want to repeal it?
They don't want to repeal it.
I think the politicians are scared to have an honest debate about it because we don't want to talk about all these very troubling issues. Other states have repealed it. Maryland repealed it. Other states have repealed it. And I think the trend is going away from the capital punishment, not toward it.
Well,
worldwide.
The point is, if it's going away, then the general public at referendum will vote to let it go away. But to keep fiddling with it without letting the people who can't have a vote
but
is
isn't
wrong.
that why we have a representative form of government? Isn't that why
No,
they
every
send
once
people?
in a while we have a referendum on changing the Constitution the way we choose to live. That's what a constitutional referendum is all about.
All right. Well, I suspect we will continue to have, hopefully, honest and civil debate about this in time to come. When we come back, we're going to ask the panel to tell us something we don't know.
NC Spin is brought to you in part by the North Carolina Farm Bureau. The Farm Bureau and Agriculture. We keep North Carolina growing.
You trust your family physician to care for you and your family. We treasure that trust and are committed to providing the best care possible for all North Carolinians. It's time for Medicaid reform, but not without input from North Carolina's family physicians. Medicaid reform will impact health care for all of us. Tell state leaders you want your physician involved. We need Medicaid reform that's good for North Carolina. To sign our petition of support, visit rnchealthcare.com.
Is your business or trade organization looking for a great North Raleigh address? This beautiful, recently updated office building has 3 spacious offices perfect for law firms, accountants, agencies, and associations of any size. Our beautiful lobby boasts attractive finishes and unique Raleigh artwork. We provide ample parking and quick access to both 440 and 540 right at the corner of Falls of the Neuse and Spring Forest Road. Call us today at 919-832-1416 to schedule a tour with the owner.
North Carolina is a great place to live, work, and raise a family, but we consistently rank in the bottom third for state health. Poor health choices and inactivity cost our state $54 billion a year, dollars that could be saved through healthier living. We can do better, North Carolina. That's why NC Spin is working with health and community organizations to launch a Healthier NC, an education campaign and challenge to live healthier lives. Join us at ahealthierNC.com.
As has become our custom, we close our show by asking our panel to tell us something we don't know, a tidbit they've picked up, a prediction, or a slant to a current issue. Chris Fitzsimon, start with you.
Fracking in North Carolina is running into real trouble despite some widespread support from some political parties. Compulsory pooling, you've probably read about, which forces property owners who don't want to have their property fracked to frack. That's a big issue. But another one that's coming is what to do with the wastewater. Even people who are for fracking are now having second thoughts.
That's a fracking problem. Peg, we'll ask you, tell us something.
Now in North Carolina, all newborns are required to be screened for congenital heart defects pulse oximetry, which is the thing you put on your finger to tell how much blood oxygen you have in your.
John?
Tom, it's already been reported that the North Carolina School Boards Association has decided to create a separate political and lobbying arm, a 501c4 organization. What's going to happen next, and what will make this a local story around North Carolina, is that school boards are going to be asked to decide whether to appropriate tax dollars to continue their membership in this organization and perhaps even to give money to this political action group. I think this will be very controversial in many places in the state.
Joe, tell us something.
If you haven't been to downtown Kinston and seen the museum that's being constructed for the USS Noose. CSS Noose. That Paul Hill and his team from the Department of Cultural Resources putting together, you need to go and take a look.
All right. Well, you've heard our spin on the issues of the day. To stay informed all during the week, give us your feedback and read our weekly column. Visit our website, ncspin.com, or catch NC Spin on Facebook. And we hope you'll join us next week when we'll take on more issues of interest to the people of North Carolina. Until then, stay informed and watch out for the spin.
Join us next week and get the spin on issues facing our state.